Happy Monday. Welcome in to a brand new week here on Seahawks Today by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. Coming up on today's show, we will look back at Seahawks Rookie Minicamp with the winners and losers. We'll tell you who those are coming out of the weekend, coming up in just a few moments from right now. Before we do, folks, we continue to grow at a rapid pace here on Seahawks Today. We're getting so close to 38,000 subscribers here on the channel, but we need your help to get there. About 294 away. Subscribe today for the latest happenings on your favorite team. As we're talking daily news and rumors, we do live shows on Wednesdays, and during football season, we're going to be bringing back our watch parties that are guaranteed to be a good time. So if you're looking for more Seahawks coverage, this is the channel for you. Subscribe for free today, turn on notifications, and we'll get started with today's show. Let's start out with the winners list, and I begin with Mike Morris, the defensive end out of the University of Michigan. And what he did this weekend certainly caught the eye of a lot of people, in particular Mike Salk from Seattle Sports 710. And Mike had this to say about Mike Morris. Listen to this. Mike Morris is huge. That's all caps. That might be huge based on the way that's written. He stands out even among the other Giants on the line. He's tall, especially next to fellow rookie Cameron Young, but listening to him talk was more instructive. He kind of reminds me of Michael Bennett, the way he answers questions with a smile and has an offbeat way of thinking through answers. He also says it's easy for him to gain or lose 20 pounds depending on what his coaches need. He sure looks quick for his size. So he sounds very coachable, it would seem. Here's more from Mike Morris himself, speaking to the media on becoming a Seahawk and what it means to him. He said, they said, we want you to get bigger, and then we'll draft you. So I got bigger, and they drafted me. This is the place I wanted to be, so I just want to fit in and get to work. So how about that? Hearing from both the Mikes here as far as Mike Morris goes, not only looking the part, it would seem, but also already before even officially becoming a member of the Seahawks, doing what was asked of him. That says a lot to me about Mike Morris, of just how much he wants to be there and how good of a teammate he can be, how dependable he is. And that flexibility of that 20-pound difference that he talked about there, to me, that's a very good sign of things to come for Mike Morris and what he brings to the Seattle Seahawks. Got more winners and also some losers to get to coming up in a moment. But before we do, I want to know, our pin comment today, who is going to be the Seahawks' best rookie in 2023? Is it Mike Morris? Is it somebody else? Tell me what you think in the comment section. Who comes to mind that's going to stand out for the Seattle Seahawks this season? Let me know who you think the best rookie will be. Moving on, after Mike Morris, let's shift gears to Jerrick Reed II, the safety out of New Mexico. And when he was drafted in the 6th round, I'll be honest, I don't think a lot of us knew a whole lot about Jerrick Reed II. And credit to the Seahawks scouting department, their coaching staff, for really learning about Jerrick Reed and finding this guy if you did a Google search, quite frankly, there just wasn't a whole lot of info out there about Jerrick Reed, about what he did with the Lobos in his career. But Pete Carroll had this to say about Jerrick Reed this weekend, and listen to this. He's a stud now. He's really built. He's really quick. I needed to see him in person to see how he can play as physical a style as he has. He's a stud now. He's really built, and he's fast as hell. And so made a first impression that was good today. Mike Salk had this to say about him. Overall, in talking to people around the team, they might have 7 rookies who can play an immediate role, and that doesn't include late-round pick Jerrick Reed, who I'm told has really impressed the coaching staff in the first few days. There might not be room for him to play right away, but with Jamal Adams' future somewhat murky, a role in special teams could certainly lead to more opportunities down the road. Nor does it include Olu, who will be in the mix at center. So even with that said, with Jerrick Reed maybe not necessarily getting playing time right away, he still impressed people with what he brought to the table. That sure, it's going to take time, and that's okay, but just the early impressions, the early indicators looked pretty good for Jerrick Reed. So more to come on Jerrick Reed in his future. We'll see what he can bring to the table. Let's go to the running back position, and Zach Charbonnet did impress, but today I want to focus on Kenny McIntosh, the running back out of Georgia, who the Seahawks selected in the 7th round, the two-time national champion with the Georgia Bulldogs. Caught eye of several folks out there, and Kenny McIntosh himself talked about his role of being a receiving back in Seattle's offense. This is what McIntosh had to say. Just trusting my hands, I've been catching the ball since I was yee-high, McIntosh said, holding his hand down below his waist level. I remember catching the ball in the house with my dad, just having that confidence in my hands that the ball isn't going to touch the ground if it hits my hand. So he plays with that confidence. He feels very comfortable as a receiving back, and that'll be a welcome presence to the Seahawks offense this year in 2023. And Pete Carroll and others also alluded to the impact that he should be able to bring to this Seahawks offense right away as a receiving back. I think you're going to see Kenny McIntosh, despite being a 7th-round pick, compete for playing time to be involved as that receiver and that third down back of some sorts. He impressed, it would seem, at minicamp with his debut there in Seattle. Got a couple more winners to get to in a moment. Before we do, we know the Seahawks this season are going to be bringing back their throwback uniforms that you see on your screen there of back to the old AFC days. And you're in luck because right now, for a limited time, Seahawks throwback gear of all different shapes and sizes, whether it comes to shirts or long sleeves or hats, whatever it may be, all of it's on sale now for up to 60% off while supplies last. So Mother's Day may be over, but not too early to be thinking about Father's Day, or maybe if you forgot about Mom on Mother's Day, here's your chance to still get something for Mom as well. Get yours now while supplies last. Throwback gear up to 60% off at chatsports.com/Seahawks gear. What are you waiting for? Get yours now while supplies last. That's chatsports.com/Seahawks gear. Next up, after Morris, Reed, and McIntosh, we find Jaxon Smith-Njigba. And you may be saying to yourself, well, didn't Jaxon Smith-Njigba not really participate a whole lot? That would be true. He and Devin Witherspoon dealing with some lingering injuries of sorts. But nonetheless, Jaxon Smith-Njigba still found a way to be involved. And his involvement, although it was limited, still impressed people that were around and saw what JSN was able to do in the very small sample size. Made the most of the opportunity that he did have. Here's more from Mike Salk. It was fun watching Smith-Njigba run routes against token defense. Of course, he was always open, but I think the quarterbacks threw it his way 90% of the time. Who can blame them? If I was trying to get noticed, I'd throw it to him every time also. Smith-Njigba doesn't look too big, but super athletic with great football IQ. Then Michael Sean Duggar of The Athletic had this to say about Jaxon Smith-Njigba along similar lines. During 7-on-7, Smith-Njigba would join the huddle. Then when the player at his position went to the line of scrimmage, he would stand about 10 yards behind him and mimic his stance in any pre-snap motion, something I can't recall a rookie doing in the past. That's that high football IQ we talked about there, folks. There was even a couple of instances where he helped his teammates get lined up before the snap. So how about that from Jaxon Smith-Njigba? Even with being limited, he still impressed with his football IQ, that he was helping guys line up and everything. To me, that's fantastic to hear from Jaxon Smith-Njigba, that even with the limitations that were out there, that he still was able to impress in that form. So far our winners are all four guys the Seahawks have drafted. But I got one more winner for you that was a UDFA for the Seahawks. That is Holton Ahlers, the quarterback out of East Carolina. Remember, the Seahawks didn't draft a quarterback in 2023, but Holton was a guy that was well thought of as a undrafted free agent and somebody that's been mentioned that has a potential chance to get the practice squad quarterback position, which is like the de facto number 3 quarterback. Potentially, if something were to happen to Geno or to Drew Lock, might have the opportunity, if it continues to impress, to be on the active roster as a backup quarterback if something were to happen. John Boyle of Seahawks.com had this to say about Holton Ahlers. Well, the Seahawks didn't select a quarterback in this year's draft. They did add one as an undrafted free agent, signing Holton Ahlers, who enjoyed a record-setting career at East Carolina. The left-handed QB showed off his accuracy and arm strength over the past couple days, but more than the physical talents, Carroll pointed to Ahlers' intangibles as what could set him apart. So, very good things from all those winners. And there was other guys that stood out, but we just narrowed this down to a few that kind of stole the show headlines-wise. But nonetheless, those were the big winners. We'll get to the losers here in just a second. But knowing what we know of the winners of these reports that are out there and the information that you guys have been seeing, who do you think was the biggest winner of Seahawks Rookie Minicamp? Tell me what you think in the comment section. Name a Rookie Minicamp winner in the comment section below and let me know what you think. Losers, a couple names that come to mind. Now, I know DJ Dallas obviously wasn't performing at Rookie Minicamp because obviously he's not a rookie. But when you hear the good things about Kenny McIntosh we told you about, in particular as a receiving back, that's what DJ Dallas is supposed to bring to the table. And now you got a younger running back that does that well and caught the eye of guys at Rookie Minicamp this weekend. That's not ideal for DJ Dallas if he's trying to keep his job and keep playing time. And not to mention, Zach Charbonnet apparently looked fantastic this weekend as well with what he was able to do. So that really puts DJ Dallas behind the 8 ball. Now, for the Seahawks case, this is a good problem to have because you have more options and more flexibility and got competition that makes everybody better. But for DJ Dallas's case, it's not looking good as far as his chances of, getting playing time and competing with those guys when McIntosh and Charbonnet both had very good weekends on that front, according to reports. Same could be said for D. Eskridge at the wide receiver position. We already told you many times about the concerns of his ability with him not ever starting a game for the Seahawks at wide receiver and the injuries that he's dealt with and just the lack of production that we've seen in his time in Seattle to this point. But besides the Seahawks drafting Jaxon Smith-Njigba and JSN standing out despite being limited in his football IQ showing off, here's where it doesn't look good for D. Eskridge either. UDFA's from the University of Tulsa, Rain Kane, wide receiver Juan Carlos Santana was very good this weekend. As was, and we've told you about this guy, Jake Bobo. Both of them had strong showings. Now, don't know if Santana's going to be back, what his future necessarily holds, or even Jake Bobo for that matter. Jake Bobo, we've told you previously on this show, kind of slow, not the fastest guy, but a talented receiver that's very tall in his own right. Those guys had strong showings, and they're going to make a case to make that 53-man roster potentially, and that only makes things tougher for justifying keeping D. Eskridge around when he hasn't lived up to his expectations of what was put out there for the former second-round pick. The last loser on this list, and I don't know necessarily if he did anything wrong, but Dylan Moses was a guy that was given a second chance of sorts this weekend at Rookie Minicamp. Not an actual rookie. Remember, he started his career with the Jags after a very successful tenure with the Alabama Crimson Tide, but he's dealt with numerous injuries over his college career and bleeding into his NFL career. And so the Seahawks brought him in to just give him a shot and see if he had anything on the table, if he was healthy and what he could do. And there was no reports. There was nothing really about Dylan Moses standing out of sorts. And I felt like when you're there with those other rookies, you needed to make a statement of some sorts to show that you belong and that you are a good fit for this organization. And like I said, There was nothing that indicated he did anything wrong, but there was nothing that also indicated, wow, Dylan Moses is that guy. You have to have him here. So I would chalk him up as a loser for this rookie minicamp. Name a loser for Seahawks rookie minicamp, whether it's one of those three guys or somebody else. Let me know what you think of who was a loser for the Seahawks at rookie minicamp. Hit me up on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Tyler Jones Live. You can find me there talking about your Seattle Seahawks, and I'll see you next time right here on Seahawks